The day after Donald Trump was found guilty of battery and defamation by a New York jury, the verdict appeared to have had little impact on the 2024 presidential campaign on Wednesday. Undoubtedly, what would normally be a stunning story was marred by the civil case, ruling that a former president and front-runner in the election should pay $5 million for sexually assaulting and defaming columnist Carroll. However, both opponents and supporters believed it would be ineffective in dethroning Trump from his position at the top of the GOP primary polls, as he seeks a third consecutive nomination. I believe that most Republican voters hold one of two views. One is that they see this in the broader context of the media, the left, and those in New York City and other places being against him and Trump. One advisor to a potential Trump opponent said, "This is another piece to all of that, whether it's the indictment stuff, the FBI raids, or whatever it might be." This person continued, "Secondly, I think there's such a drumbeat of all this stuff that I think eventually folks tune it out. Many people have formed opinions about him. There are no people who are unsure about the former president. Therefore, if you dislike Donald Trump, you are never going to like him. This won't make you think differently about Donald Trump if you already do." Trump's GOP primary opponent's remarks, which either questioned whether voters cared about the outcome or questioned the proceedings themselves, reflected the expected effect on the campaign trail. "I'll say what everyone else is secretly thinking. Would we be discussing this today? Would there even be a lawsuit if the defendant weren't named Donald Trump?" In a statement, businessman and author Vivek Ramaswamy posed a question. Nikki Haley, a former governor of South Carolina, said to radio host Hugh Hewitt on Wednesday, "I'm not going to get into that. I'm holding town halls all over South Carolina, New Hampshire, and Iowa." Additionally, they worry about inflation. They're worried about the education of their children. They're worried about how out of control the border is. They're worried about crime and what is going on with the Chinese spy balloon that is circling over us. They're concerned with those things. At a news conference on Wednesday, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, who is anticipated to announce his candidacy for president in the coming weeks, avoided a question about the verdict. Former Vice President Mike Pence, another potential candidate, told NBC News that he didn't anticipate voters to pay much attention to it, and that he never heard or witnessed behavior of that nature while serving in Trump's administration. Asa Hutchinson, a former governor of Arkansas, was the only Republican presidential candidate to directly criticize Trump over the decision as of Wednesday afternoon. "In my more than 25 years of courtroom experience, I have personally witnessed how a cavalier and haughty contempt for the rule of law can backfire. The jury verdict needs to be taken seriously and is yet another illustration of Donald Trump's unacceptable behavior," he said in a statement. Trump's hold over a sizable portion of the GOP base and the electoral reality for many of his rivals were both highlighted by the reluctance to criticize the former president. With the possible exception of one or two, all of his opponents are currently in a position where they must introduce themselves. The advisor to a potential rival said. And there's little to gain by introducing themselves in terms of a New York jury verdict about a case of this nature involving Donald Trump. However, Trump only attracted a small number of additional critics in Washington, even off the campaign trail. Sen. Mitt Romney, R. Utah, and Senator Kevin Cramer, R. North Dakota, respectively, said that the verdict doesn't put a check mark in the positive category, and I hope the jury of the American people reach the same conclusion, which is he is not fit to become the President of the United States, but even detractors in Washington, D.C., expressed disappointment. "I believe that no matter what Trump does, those who despise him will always do so." Senator Cynthia Lummis, R. Wyoming, who last year referred to DeSantis as the GOP leader, believes that supporters of Trump will support him no matter what he does. The verdict alone, according to some strategists, might not deter primary voters, but the accumulation of scandals might make them worried enough about his chances of winning the general election that they might switch to a primary rival. Most of this is already priced in, but many Republicans feel compelled by reflex to support Trump, who is constantly under fire from his alleged foes. Nevertheless, this is just another fuel added to the fire, and voters will feel the full impact of all of these indictments, potential indictments, and judgments. It has to do with both his character and his electability, according to GOP strategist David Kochel of Iowa. But according to anti-Trump GOP pollster Sarah Longwell, the kind of splintered reaction that followed the verdict could help Trump defy political gravity when accused of sexual misconduct and other scandals. Only one participant in a recent focus group of 7 people that Longwell conducted had heard of the Carroll case, she told ABC News, and if the reaction to Tuesday's verdict is any indication, even an avalanche of scandal might not be sufficient to derail Trump's support. Republicans must speak out loudly about these verdicts if they want to change anything, Longwell said. Republican voters will continue to feel like it's okay to support Trump, as long as Trump's 2024 rivals and elected Republicans don't speak out against him whenever he is indicted, impeached, or found liable in a sexual assault case, according to this analysis. Longwell continued by saying that the GOP's fragmented responses to previous scandals and Trump's controversial comments have contributed to the GOP base's deepening acceptance of ideas like widespread election fraud. As a large portion of the party believes the former president is the target of a witch hunt, some people speculate that the Carroll verdict might strengthen his campaign position. The Clarendon County, South Carolina Republican Party chair, Moya Graham, described the New York jury as just a bunch of liberals up there anyway. It won't change anything, in my opinion. Perhaps it will make him stronger.